You are listening to the Keep the Weight Off podcast with Dr. Angela
and Marshall,
episode number 133.
Welcome to the Keep the Weight Off podcast, where we bust all the dieting myths and discover not just how to lose weight, but more importantly, how to keep it off. We go way beyond the food, and we use science and psychology to give you strategies that work. And now your host, Dr. Angela Zechmann.
All right. Hey, everyone, and welcome to the podcast this week. We've been so busy lately.
I know you've been so busy lately.
Well, you've been busy too.
I have too. Not as busy as you, though. You have a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. Well, we had somebody ask us in the clinic the other day about what happened with your rings. Do you want to?
Oh, yeah. So I did. I wanted to give a little follow-up. I'm glad that I got the opportunity because we had a few people ask me.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm sure that if I had listened to my story, I would say, well, what happened?
Yeah.
So I wanted to give it a little bit of time before I gave a follow-up, just to give time to hopefully get my rings back. So I had like a happily ever after ending.
I know.
But I have not gotten my rings back, but there is a bright side. Is my wonderful husband. He bought me a new wedding ring.
Oh,
and it's beautiful. It's
stunning.
Sparkly. It's beautiful. It's an anniversary band, and I am in love with it. And it's just beautiful. So thank you, Rich.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. And I still have hope that maybe someday they'll come back. I'm never going to lose hope, but I just wanted to give everybody a follow-up. Things don't always work out the way we want, but we just move along and we make a better ending.
Yeah. So. And you got a new wedding ring out of it. So
I did.
That's great.
Yes.
Yeah. And
all right.
It is stunningly beautiful. So
thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about what I wanted to talk about this podcast about. Oh, I forgot. I wanted to let everybody know that we just welcomed a whole bunch of new members into Empowered Weight Loss. And we're just getting started with this powerful training that I'm giving. And it's actually not too late to join us. You won't get the bonuses that everybody got, but you can still join us if you are interested. I designed the Empowered Weight Loss membership to help those of you who think to yourself, I know what to do. I just can't make myself do it. I hear this all the time. And there are reasons why that happens. And I just want you to know that you're not crazy. So, for example, if you eat to soothe emotions, you can know exactly how to eat correctly, but what happens when you have an uncomfortable feeling? What do you do then? Well, that's what I teach you in the membership. Or let's say that you find yourself eating because someone around you is one of those food pushers, and you don't know how to tell them no thanks and feel good about it. Well, this is what I teach you in the membership. Or if you find yourself doing really well for a few weeks or maybe even a few months, and then you just lose your mojo, I help you figure out what's happening and I teach you what to do about it. So there's so much that we can help you with in the membership. And this has become a real project of love. I just really love helping people come to understand themselves better as they move through their weight loss journey. One woman described it like therapy, which I actually think is pretty accurate.
I think that's accurate too.
Yep. Yeah. So we do all of this coaching, and if you want to call it therapy, if you will, in a private membership. And I have group coaching once a week and a private Facebook group and so many resources for you. So, I'd encourage you, if you're thinking about this, if you're listening to this podcast and you can't figure out why it is that you keep yo-yoing, we're here to help. And now is a great time to get started. So just go to journeybeyondweightloss.com/yes and go sign up right now and then come back to the podcast. Okay? So, all right. So I'm going to go into what I wanted to talk about this week. This is something that we're hearing over and over again. Marshall, tell our listeners what our patients are telling us about what's happening this time of year.
Oh my gosh. So we all know that it's like back to school season. Mm-hmm. So we have several moms and probably some dads coming in. Yes, dads, because I can actually think of one. Yeah. But we have moms and dads coming in and it is sports. And so parents are of course, the taxi cab for their kids.
Yeah.
And so that's it. So, and guess what's impacted the most is family dinners.
Yes.
So so we have a lot of moms that are just really on the go and they're struggling and they just want to know what to do in these situations because it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to navigate sports and school and on the go and, not having much time to prep meals or to cook.
Yeah. And it might not be like you might have one of those kids that's not necessarily into sports, but maybe they're into other activities. Maybe it's dance or drama. Like it doesn't really matter what the activity is. It's just like you're shuffling the kids back and forth to whatever all of their activities are. And it's a really difficult thing for parents of school age and high school kids. They're in so many activities almost every night of the week. And then there are games or performances on the weekends. And then you put more than one kid in the mix. And sometimes parents are just racing to keep up with these crazy schedules. And they still have full-time jobs to deal with. And it just becomes almost untenable to try to keep up with it all. And this becomes a really big impediment to good nutrition. So you've got a lot of these great ideas about how do you want to lose weight. And then you look at the schedule and you're thinking, oh, I'm done with work at 5. And by 5:30, Johnny has to be at soccer practice and he's not done until 7. And looks like we'll be going through Burger King again tonight.
Oh, that was so my life. I remember those days.
I know. I've been there too. And I have to tell you, last week I was at a high school football game. And this is the first time since my own high school days that I was at a high school football game. And the reason is because I raised daughters who were not cheerleaders and they were not interested in high school football. So I had not been to a high school football game in forever. So of course there was a concession stand there. And guess what the concession stand sold?
Oh, I guess probably nothing. Nothing healthy?
Nope. Nothing healthy.
I bet not.
Nothing fresh. Chips, candy, canned sodas, stuff like that. So unless you're prepared ahead of time for this, like you're either going to be really, really hungry or you're going to have to eat crap.
Oh, yeah. I remember like not even just, doing high school sports or, kids sports. I remember when I was doing really super well and I went to a professional football game and I showed up unprepared thinking that I was going to be able to go to the concession stand and get something healthy. And there was nothing healthy there either.
I remember
so it's not,
that.
Yeah, so it's not just for kids. I think it's like all concession stands that you have to know how to navigate this before you go into it because it can catch you off guard.
Yeah. That's a really good point because it's football season too. So a lot of people are going to football games and they might be professional football games. So you're kind of like out of luck when it comes to nutrition at games.
Yeah.
So I have opinions about all of this. I always have opinions about stuff. And it's really interesting because when I'm thinking about kids and sports, like there was a guy in my high school class who was just one of those amazing athletes. I think we had like 200 kids in my graduating high school class, and this was in Kansas. And he's still actually at the ripe age of 61. He's still very much in shape and he's really active. And he's the brother of one of my very best friends in high school. So I've kept in touch with him. And he has a son who is playing high school sports. And he's told us, he said, it's really, really different now. So back in the 70s, when we were in school, there was a football season and there was a basketball season and there was a baseball season. And he was good at all of it. And he played in all of those teams. He said, but they didn't overlap. You had practice after school and then you went home and ate dinner with your family and you did your homework. That's how that worked. So nowadays, kids are on intramural teams along with their school teams. And they have practices at all kinds of times. And there's very little time for family time and homework. It's really, really very, very different now. He was quite shocked at the change. And I remember one woman who told me that her son was on 3 different soccer teams. And he had practice for each one of those teams, plus all the games. And I asked, like, why? Why do this? And she said, he absolutely loves it. And I'm not going to tell him he can't play on all these teams. And I thought to myself, well, okay, but he's not learning anything about balance in life, right?
Oh, I think another reason why these kids feel so much pressure as well is because they're trying to get scholarships for
Ooh,
college.
good.
And so
Yeah.
that's just the pressure. There's been more pressure and more pressure and more pressure.
Yeah.
And, the competition is great.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of these high school kids just feeling the pressure of trying to, to get scholarships for college.
Yeah. So I just want you to know, if you're a mom or a dad who's trying to get this figured out, I have some very, very, very practical ideas for you. This is not one of our mindset podcasts. This is a practical strategies podcast this week. So the first thing I want to say is that family meals are crucial for bonding and for nutrition and for overall well-being. Like, it's really interesting because I saw a slogan on a food delivery truck the other day that said, "Life happens around the table."
Oh, that's
Isn't
a
that
good
good?
one. Yeah.
It's so true. This is family bonding time around the dinner table. So we want to do our best to make evening meals a priority as we're thinking about how to navigate these challenges with kids' practices and extracurricular activities, like right in the middle of the dinner hour. So the first challenge that many moms and dads face is time constraints. So after school, it's a rush to get the kids to practice, and by the time they're back, it's late. Cooking a meal seems absolutely impossible.
It does. It actually does seem like an impossible challenge. So,
Yeah.
okay, so then what do you do?
What do you do? Yeah. So one of our moms had a great idea. She called it homemade Lunchables. Doesn't that sound great?
Yeah,
So much better.
I like that.
So much better than crap Lunchables that you buy at the store. But
right.
what she would do is she would pick her kids up after she was done with work, and she'd hand them a packable snack that they could eat to give them some energy to last during practice. She'd give them things like fruit and nuts or cheese, and she'd pack it in a square container, just like the Lunchables, that they could eat on the way to practice.
This does kind of remind me of that post that I just put out on Sugar and Flour Buster Society. Did you see that, with the plastic boxes that had all the different foods in it?
Oh.
To take with you? Did you see there? That's like a
yes,
packing
I did
your
see
lunch.
that.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of that. I think that's such a good idea.
And I love this idea. This way, the poor kid isn't starving during practice, and you can eat when you get home. So
that's a good idea.
That's one way to, if the practice is right during the dinner hour, just give the kid a little snack. And you can make a little Lunchable snack for you too. The next tip is plan the week in advance. So you're going to dedicate some time on the weekends, perhaps, planning your meals for the week. You can use a physical planner, meaning like one of those calendar paper things, or you can use a digital app to keep track of your meal ideas, and try to choose recipes that are quick to prepare or can be made in advance. Okay? Then the next tip is to set the meal schedule in advance. So knowing which days you're going to be cooking and when you might need quick options can help you to plan accordingly. Okay?
Yes. So, okay, that, this all sounds good, but how do you make sure that the family can have dinner together? Like with all these practices and games, it can feel like there's no time for that.
I know, I get that. So especially if the classes or practices run till like 6:30 or 7 or even later than that.
Right.
But here's an idea. You can create a family meal schedule. So sit down as a family and decide on specific days for family dinners. And you want to make them non-negotiable and prioritize them, just like you would prioritize a sports event. So imagine like sitting down, okay, which nights are we going to actually sit down as a family, and what time is that going to be given the practice schedule and all of that? Okay. So this gives everyone something to look forward to and helps to maintain that family connection. So you're choosing specific days for family meals, and make sure everyone knows what nights to plan to be home and try to stick to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would even, for me, like if I was trying to do this and trying to integrate this into my schedule, I would even if you can even start with one night to begin with and then build on that. Yeah, just because, if it's hard to it's overwhelming to think, okay, I have to redo all of this. And I can see where this can seem overwhelming because of tight schedules. But even if you just start with, what I would do is just start with one at first.
One family dinner night. Yeah. Yeah. And then as you get more comfortable with all of this, you can have multiple family dinner nights.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tip number 3 is to have theme nights. So for example, you can assign themes to certain days of the week. So for example, you can have Taco Salad Tuesday as opposed to Taco Tuesday. Right?
Yeah, right. That's a good idea. I like that.
Or maybe it's Thursday chili night or Friday stir-fry night. It adds variety and it can make meal planning a lot more fun. Okay. Tip number 4 is to check your inventory before you make your meal plan. Take stock of what you already have in your pantry and your fridge and your freezer. This will help you to avoid overbuying ingredients. So maybe there's some frozen hamburger or some frozen salmon that really needs to be used up. Plan meals around these ingredients so that they don't go bad waiting in the freezer for you to use them, right? Tip number 5 is to choose quick and easy recipes. Select recipes that are quick to prepare, such as one-pan meals, sheet pan meals, or stir-fries. Aim for recipes that require minimal cooking time. So I'm just remembering Martha Stewart would have a dinner thing in her magazine. I remember looking at that and thinking, who cooks like this on a weeknight? No.
Yeah, right.
She would have all these multiple ingredients and multiple recipes. Like, no, we're just going to do something quick and easy. And see what you can do to do some meal prepping ahead of time. So see if you can chop your vegetables ahead of time. See if you can marinate proteins ahead of time. Prepare some of the components of your meals in advance so that once you get home, you can just pretty much just throw it all in a pan and reduce the cooking time during the week.
Yeah. And you can cook up a lot of chicken breast or, chicken at one time and then, put it in the fridge, or you could even freeze hamburger, stuff like that. So you can, so you can just do a lot of it at once.
Yeah. So tip number 6 is to double up your meals. So when you're planning your meals, consider making extra portions for leftovers. Leftovers can be a real lifesaver on those crazy busy days, right?
Yep, exactly. That's exactly where I was going with that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Tip number 7 is to make sure that you make a shopping list before you go shopping. So you've got your meals planned, you've checked your inventory, you've planned meals kind of based on what you've got around, and then you make a shopping list. And then you're going to stick to the list to avoid unnecessary purchases. I would even consider having an Instacart delivery or have your grocery store do curbside pickup so that you can avoid going into the store and buying extra stuff that you don't need. Remember, grocery stores are all about selling you stuff that you did not plan to purchase, and they'll get you at the checkout line every time. And this can be a huge problem for people. Okay. So super, super important. You can also do some batch cooking. So this is another huge time saver. So Marshall was talking about maybe cooking up a whole bunch of chicken breasts in advance. You can actually batch cook large batches of meals like chili or stews or casseroles and freeze them in smaller portions. That way you can reheat a homemade meal really quickly. So here's how you can make batch cooking work. First of all, you want to make sure you're choosing batch-friendly recipes. So you're looking for recipes that freeze well and that can be reheated without compromising taste and texture. So, for example, soups and stews. Chilies are great for batch cooking. Low-carb casseroles, those kinds of things. You could even batch cook like spaghetti sauce and then just stir fry some of those zoodles and use that for pasta. Or you can do all kinds of things like that so that you're batch cooking and you've got stuff ready to go in your freezer. In order to do this, what you're going to have to do is to invest in containers. So you purchase a variety of freezer-safe containers. Make sure that you've got airtight containers and freezer bags. And you want to make sure you're labeling stuff because once stuff is frozen, you cannot tell what it is. So you're going to label it with what it is and with the date so that you know how fresh it is and that you know what it is. And it really helps to take a day on the weekend and plan a batch cooking day. So you're going to dedicate a few hours to do your batch cooking and prepare multiple servings of your favorite recipes. You could do a batch cook chili and a batch cook of something else, and then you've got it all labeled. It's really important to divide the cooked food into individual or family-sized portions before you freeze it. And that makes it super easy to thaw and reheat just the right amount of food for each meal. Make sure that you allow the cooked food to cool down to room temperature before you refrigerate it or you freeze it, because if you just throw it in the refrigerator freezer, that could be a problem. Okay. This way you can maintain food safety. When you are freezing things, store your meals flat in freezer bags or stack the containers so that you're using your freezer space efficiently. If you want to prevent freezer burn, make sure that there's no air trapped inside the containers or the bags. So that's a little handy trick. No air trapped. And then the last tip is to thaw and reheat safely. So when you're ready to enjoy one of your batch cooked meals, thaw it in the refrigerator overnight, or use the defrost setting on your microwave and reheat it thoroughly to make sure that you kill any bacteria that might be there. So if you can incorporate meal planning and batch cooking into your routine, you can save time, you can reduce stress, and you can ensure that your family enjoys delicious and nutritious homemade meals, even when days are really crazy busy. And then you avoid the temptation of takeout. It's so easy to grab fast food when you're pressed for time and you don't have a plan. So these strategies will help you stay organized and maintain a healthy family mealtime routine, despite the challenges of busy sports and activity schedules that your kids are in.
Oh, these all sound like great ideas.
Yeah. And involving your kids in all of this can make meal prep a really fun family activity. So kids can help, even the young ones can help with simple tasks like washing vegetables and setting the table. And getting your kids involved not only eases the workload on you, but also teaches them valuable cooking skills. Most kids these days have no idea how to cook. So imagine if your kid has grown up watching you do batch cooking so that you're not at the mercy of the food industry and you're not running through drive-thru restaurants all the time.
Yeah. And then, another thing I do real quick, I just want to throw this in there is if you run out of ideas and you don't really know, what easy meals to make, there's so many people on TikTok that make easy meals. There's so many people on YouTube. So you just have to search, easy meal planning. And there's so much good information out there now, fortunately, because we have so many, social media sites. So it's just really easy to get ideas off of, TikTok or whatever, off of Facebook and all that. And I even try, if you guys haven't seen, I've been trying to post easy meal planning on our Facebook group, the Sugar and Flour Buster Society.
Sugar and Flour Buster Society, yeah. Marcelle's been doing a great job of putting awesome recipes up there too. So it's great. Yeah. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Remember, as you're doing all of this, it's perfectly okay to adjust things and adapt things. There may be days when things get really wonky and you just don't want to beat yourself up about that. Just make the best choice possible. The key is to aim for balance and make sure that you're not just throwing your hands up in the air and saying, this is impossible. I thought it's that whole self-pity thing that we do. It's impossible. I'm never going to be able to figure it out. Well, it's not impossible. And just trust that the effort that you put into making family meals a regular part of your routine will pay off, because it will. And think about your own childhood and how important the family mealtime was. Okay. So to all of our listeners out there, making time for family meals is possible, even with busy sports and activity schedules. Plan ahead, involve your kids, and make sure to prioritize those family dinners.
Yeah, and please remember, it's not just about the food. It's about the quality time we spend together as a family. For sure.
So thanks for tuning in and joining us in this important discussion.
Well, thank you, Dr. Angela, and thank you, everyone, for listening to Keep the Weight Off podcast. We'll be back for more tips and insights to help you lead a healthy, balanced life next week.
Yep. So we'll see you all next week. Take care and keep those family meals a priority. Bye, everyone.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Hey, if you really want to lose weight and keep it off for good, your next step is to sign up for Dr. Angela's free weight loss course, where you're going to learn everything you need to get started on your weight loss journey the right way. Just head over to journeybeyondweightloss.com/free course to sign up. Also, it would be awesome if you could take a few moments and write a review on iTunes. Thanks, and we'll see you in Journey Beyond Weight Loss.